Hello, Burlington. I am Burlington Mayor Marianne Mead Ward, and welcome to the next installment of Burlington Matters. It's the second show of 2021. It's hard to believe how fast that has come upon us. We're closing out the first month of 2021, and we, as always, have a great panel assembled for you today to talk about what's on your mind. If you have questions about what you hear today, please do get in touch with me at mayor@burlington.ca. We're happy to continue the dialogue offline. So today we have with us Kurt Benson from Halton Region. He is the Director of Planning and the Chief Building Official. And we also have Heather McDonald, who is our Executive Director of Community Planning, Regulation, and Mobility at the City of Burlington. And as you might have guessed, our topic today is Burlington's official plan and also the region's official plan, which go together. And we're going to start right from how these two processes, how these two plans work together. The city doesn't actually approve our plan; we endorse it, send it to the region, and then the region is undertaking its own plan. But of course, we have input into that. So there's lots of stuff going on, and I'm going to start with you, Kurt, to kind of give us the roadmap of that tangled spaghetti of interconnections and back and forth. Take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Mayor Mead Ward. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, I think planning by its nature is a collaborative effort, and especially here in the Halton context, I think we work very well with our local municipal partners. The region, through our official plan, we set fairly general directions in line with conformity with the provincial plans and policies that we have to conform with, and set a framework for our local municipalities to respond to and to perhaps color a little bit in terms of the local context. So in undertaking any comprehensive review of official plans, it's important that we're working together, and I think that we do that quite well. I think the city has been undertaking its update to its official plan for a few years in terms of looking at some of the options that it has for focusing growth with the protection of the environment. Some really important things that are deliberated on and out there in the community in terms of defining the city's vision for the future. The process that we're in currently, we're kind of at the tail end of the process in terms of the city updating its official plan. It endorsed its official plan back in 2018, forwarded it to the region for approval. Since then, there's been a lot of work done in the background to confirm the vision, for example, in the downtown, and to address some of those outstanding matters of conformity. We work collaboratively with the city to define modifications to the adopted official plan, and we were able to agree on a set of modifications, and we released our notice of decision in December of last year, and as a result, that notice of decision opens up an appeal period. So, for those that participated in the process that perhaps are not satisfied with the decision or the outcome, they have the right to file an appeal. And we do now have a total of 48 appeals in on the city's official plan, and looking forward to some next steps in terms of the LPAT process that will, or Local Planning Appeals Tribunal process that will unfold as a result.
Thanks for that, Kurt. It has been a long journey for the city plan. We started it in 2011, 1 year after I was first elected. I'm 10 years around the table now, and it has changed course over the years. Actually, we started way back in 2011 with thinking we just needed to do some tweaks. About halfway through that process, decided we kind of needed to do a do-over. There was so many changes provincially. There were new issues that our community and council wanted to address that we pushed. We actually kind of set aside the old process in a way and said we need to broaden the scope in 2016. First endorsed it in 2018 by the previous council, and then I don't know what the correct word is, but I guess we re-endorsed it in October of last year, 2019, with those changes that you mentioned. So quite a long journey to this point. We're not out of it yet. I'll come to you, Heather, to maybe talk to us a little bit about what people can expect going forward with, as Kurt said, there's 48 appeals. There's a whole other process now that takes over, starting with, I guess the first, what's called a case management conference was a couple of weeks ago. What can the public expect in terms of next steps, and how quickly we might have a signed, sealed, and delivered plan once the LPAT reviews it?
Yeah, so as you say, still a process ahead of us, given that there are 48 appeals. I might add, though, that 48 appeals sounds like a lot, but we weren't surprised by that. It's, as you say, it's a major document setting out the vision for growth and development, and really a framework for us to consider future applications for development and directions that the city wishes to take. So it's a significant document that hits a lot of different policy areas, really focusing on complete communities and really saying and directing where we see growth happening in the future at the same time as protecting established neighborhoods and the natural environment. So it's a big document, covers a lot of policies, and so not really surprised that we had the interest and the number of appeals that we did receive. But I think it's important to note, those watching today may recall that we recently went through an interim control bylaw study for the downtown, and the results of that were amendments to our existing official plan prior to the approval of this new plan, and also a zoning bylaw that we brought in place. But there were over 20 appeals to that amendment to the existing official plan that carry over into, so there's some duplication then. So just to indicate that that we will be able to deal with a number of appeals at the same time when we get to LPAT. So LPAT has all the appeals, and we will have a case management meeting with them to see just how they are going to deal with the appeals, how they may group them together. And so the strategy is yet to be determined. And while we are waiting for that case management meeting to be scheduled, we're doing work that we can bring forward to LPAT so that we come away with some better indication of what is in effect immediately with respect to the official plan before the appeals are all dealt with. So a lot of work going on right now behind the scenes. Timing is up in the air. We haven't had that case management meeting yet with LPAT, and it will really be at that time that it's quite determined the dates that we're shooting for, that they will be setting aside for hearings, and the hearing and the length of time they expect those hearings to take to deal with. So, but LPAT,
a lot of steps
are moving quicker. They're moving a lot quicker now than they were in the past. I think, Kurt, you'll agree. So we expect to have the case management plan within a couple of months.
And if the public want to participate in that process, I know the hearings themselves are open to the public to view. How do people, if they want to tune in, participate?
Yeah, so we can make it known, and we'll keep our Get Involved pages up to date on when the various steps are going to be taking place, so that they would be aware and could be contacting us to be determining how we can keep them up to date on what's happening. We will be reporting to council as well on the progress, so that will be public. The actual appellants, they will be parties to the, or they will be, part of the process. Individuals can be also involved in the process if they feel that that's something that they would be having to bring forward to LPAT to be included.
That's great. Just wanted to explore a little bit with you, Kurt. I know a change was made some time ago that an applicant can't appeal a whole plan, that they have to focus in on exactly what parts of it they are concerned with. And then at some point, once there's a separation between what is or isn't being appealed, the balance of that would come into effect. So how does that process, how will that unfold? I know it's too early to say, where the lines are drawn on the 48 yet, but how does that process unfold so that we know at some point, when can we expect to have any part of our plan be in force and effect?
Yeah, no, you're correct. I think there were a few years ago, there were changes made to the Planning Act. I think as a result of, seeing, appellants file these appeals to, the entire plan and holding up the entire plan in front of the then Ontario Municipal Board, and it really being frustrating for communities trying to advance, or confirm their vision for growth, development, environmental protection. So there were changes made a couple of years ago to the Planning Act that suggest appellants need to be very clear in terms of what components of the plan that they are contesting or have an issue with through their appeal letters, because it gives an opportunity for the board, through discussions with the parties to put in force and effect the balance. So those policies or directions that are embedded in the official plan that are not contested by any of the appellants really shouldn't be, a matter of dispute. It should be brought into force and effect as quickly as possible. And that was really the thrust of the Planning Act changes a few years ago.
Well, and if folks are interested, the actual nature of the appeals themselves are public record. I think they are posted on the LPAT website. They're not sometimes easy to find, but if you go to the website for LPAT and you look up Burlington, you can see every appeal. I don't know how far back it dates. Many of them have closed. I have gone on there from time to time, and you can see the whole case record. But this most latest 48 appeals, the document that I got was 1,149 pages long. So I haven't read it all, I will say that, but I did start reading that. So folks want to understand more, that is available on the public record. Before we turn to some of the other pieces that came out of that, the Urban Growth Center being one, and I'll come back to you for that on Kurt. But Heather, the question I get a lot, and I know you do too, we still are having, as a city, applications come in. We still have development interest. And how do we make the decision? What weight does the new plan versus the old plan, given it's kind of, not technically, well, it's not approved yet by the LPAT? What weight does the new plan have in council's deliberations and staff deliberations of new applications that are on our doorstep or in the door already?
Yeah, so a short answer is it depends. And it depends really on when the applications were submitted. And so when an application is submitted for us to consider, it is the policies that are in effect on the day that the plan is submitted that will apply. However, in looking at applications, what we say is that new policies that have been approved by the region in our new official plan we look to them to say that they will inform our recommendations. They won't be determinative, but informative. So certainly that is the policy framework that staff will look to in processing a development application, in addition to what was in effect at the time that the plans came in. So yeah, and it kind of depends on at what stage in the process the applications were received. But I can say that they will be given, our new policies given a lot of consideration when we bring recommendations forward to our council for consideration.
Yeah, I think that's very encouraging to folks to know that it can inform decisions, because really when we see an application and it does come to council for a decision, they're asking to change the existing plan in the first place. So having our new plan policies being one of the lenses that we look to consider the request for that change, I think is really important. One of the proudest things that I am for this council is the work that we did with staff and the community on the downtown. And certainly the 2018 plan was a subject of the election, and folks were looking for some changes. We made some of those changes. But one of the pieces that came out of that conversation was around the urban growth center downtown. We have that designation. The boundaries are roughly sort of the downtown center, if you will, includes most of the downtown, kind of in an upside down T, I call it, down the spine of Brant Street. And one of the things this council has asked the region to do, and maybe Kurt, when we come to you, you can talk about that. You know, why does the region have to make this decision? Why can't the council just do what we want with the UGC? But because the region is undergoing your own official plan review, we call it a municipal comprehensive review, or MCR for those folks who like acronyms. And I may use that for the rest of the show because it's a mouthful. But during your MCR, council has asked you to look at adjusting the boundaries of the UGC to more closely align with where we know the future wave of growth in Burlington is going to go, which is around our 3 GO stations, and of course the Burlington GO. So talk to us about that process, where we're at in that process. There's still some public engagement, and when there might be some decision by, I guess it would come to Halton Regional Council, but maybe you can include that in your response.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think by its nature, planning in Ontario is very much built on a hierarchy where the province sets out the direction, and at times it's very specific. It's very prescriptive in terms of what official plans need to have in them, and the municipalities are really to respond to or include those directions from the province. So, the provincial direction in the case of the urban growth center in downtown, that's it's a requirement of the provincial growth plan that Burlington has an urban growth center. That's really the base case for conformity, is ensuring that Burlington does move forward with an urban growth center. In terms of the delineation of the urban growth center, in terms of the boundaries of it and where it is, that very much is and should be a decision that is made, locally. I think we recognize as planners that some of these directions provided by the province, while they're well-intentioned, they need to be viewed through a local lens in terms of their appropriateness. So the region, as you mentioned, is currently doing an update to our official plan. Our official plan will respond to the latest version of the provincial growth plan. There have been a series of changes to the provincial policy statement and the provincial growth plan and other provincial planning documents since we've last done an update. So our goal through our official plan update is to respond and embed some of those directions that the province is providing to us. But making sure that those changes are viewed with respect to what makes sense in the local context. And I think we're quite fortunate that many of our municipalities have embarked on doing some very good studies that are going to be very useful inputs for the region in terms of defining growth and where growth should go, and perhaps where growth isn't as appropriate. And so, we've been working closely with the team at the city, and we have put forward. Some of the viewers may recall, there's a discussion paper that the region released jointly with the city that looks at a potential option to moving the urban growth center to the area in and around the Burlington GO station, which is also a major transit station area that has its own policies and approaches from the growth plan perspective. We're currently looking at all the feedback that has come in with respect to that option and that change that we're looking at. The region does have an opportunity through our official plan update to make a change or an adjustment to the urban growth center that is more in line with some of the work that the city has done to define where growth is appropriate and where perhaps it might not be as appropriate. And so we're currently looking at all of the submissions that have come in related to that discussion paper, and we hope to be in front of regional council very shortly with some initial recommendations. Our hope is that we can table an amendment very soon in terms of looking at putting in place what we're calling a regional urban structure that in large part mirrors some of the good work that the local municipalities in Halton have done in defining where it is appropriate to grow and where it's appropriate to not grow, for example. So there's been a lot of good work based on focused studies and engagement that the local municipalities have done. We want to make sure that we're capturing as a part of the overall framework in the region for growth. Obviously, there's several considerations that we have when we're looking at an urban structure. I think some of the key considerations are related to investment in infrastructure and public services and transit. So, that transit piece is really important and really was, in large part, a significant, played a significant role in rationalizing why, it's probably more important or a better fit to make a statement about the MTSA around Burlington GO being kind of the primary area for future growth, really to capitalize on the existing public investment that has been made.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Kurt. And I'll come back to you, Heather, because you did bring up the MTSA, and I know that's another area that the public has been very interested in. And one of the recommendations in the discussion paper, because we have two MTSAs officially, downtown and the Burlington GO, and then we've got 3 GO stations, which really should, all 3 of them really function as an MTSA. But one of the recommendations was to remove the MTSA downtown. So I presume, Heather, that's part of that same process where the region would consider that as part of their MCR.
Yes, you're
the public
correct.
is asking why we didn't just do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're correct that, and just to your last point, we, as a local municipality, we would be unable to make changes to the provincial designations of an MTSA and the boundaries of the UGC. But as Kurt mentioned, he talked about work that the local municipalities have done in support of changes to the urban structure that the region will be putting forward. And in Burlington, we had 2 studies that were going on, very separate studies, but concurrently. One was the interim control bylaw study that was done on the downtown area, as well as the scoped re-examination of the official plan policies that you had mentioned had been endorsed in 2018, but we took another closer look at those. And in response to council's direction on conclusion of those studies, we reported back on what recommendations would be around actually adjusting the boundary of the UGC, but also based on the results that really focused, especially the ICBL study, on the role and function of the bus terminals in the downtown, that it was not meeting the criteria for an MTSA. And so at the same time as asking the region to pursue adjusting the boundary of the UGC, we are also asking as a city that the MTSA be removed from the downtown.
That's great. We, believe it or not, we are almost out of time here, and there's still so much more that we could be talking about. The key message, I think, to the public is there's more to come. Our work is not done either in terms of the approval of the official plan. We'll be working through the LPAT process, but also on those two areas, the UGC and the MTSA, still more to come through the region's plan later this year, I think over the next few months. So continue to watch on all of my channels. The city has put out information, the region puts out information about when and how those are coming forward to committee, and that affords, of course, the public an opportunity to submit written delegations or come in virtual person. Sounds like an oxymoron, but you can come and speak to us in real time. So as we wrap up, I really want to thank Kurt Benson, the Director of Planning and Chief Planning Official at Halton Region, and Heather McDonald, who is our Executive Director of Community Planning, Regulation, and Mobility at the city. You have been working extraordinarily hard for a very long period of time, and more to come. So thank you for all of that, and thanks for being on the show today to talk to our viewers about where we're at in the process.